32109 barely heard him. He screeched to a stop. "What are you doing?" called the driver. "We've got to get a move on." "It's Jonathan," 32109 cried back. "If we don't do something, he'll go up in flames along with the trucks." "So will we if we stop here," cried the fireman. "I've got an idea," 32109 interrupted. "Couple me back up to the trucks. If I can pull them clear, the others and Jonathan will be safe." "It's too risky," yelled the driver. "If we do that, we'll go up in flames instead." "Not if I can shunt them clear onto the other quay," 32109 retorted. "If I can get that one truck into the sea—" "Did you hear me? It's too risky," screamed the fireman. "That truck will go before we even get there." "There are still people in those buildings," the driver cut in. "It's worth a try." "But—" "No buts," the driver said firmly. "Get down there and couple us back up, then get ready to switch the points. Let me and 32109 do the rest." The fireman hesitated for a moment. Then he took a deep breath and jumped down from the footplate as the driver brought 32109 forward. The fireman fastened the coupling, fumbling in his panic. Once it was secure, he ran back to the junction, ready to switch the points. "Here we go, old boy," breathed the driver. He opened the reverser, and 32109 backed away from the train, the last trucks in tow. The burning van had begun to smoke violently. 32109 puffed as carefully and as smoothly as he could. If he moved too fast, the other trucks, or even the gunpowder, may catch fire too. If he moved too slowly, the gunpowder would ignite all the same. After what seemed like an eternity, he pulled the trucks clear of the points. The fireman wasted no time in switching the points onto the disused siding. It ran along a quay, ending in a set of old buffers. Thankfully, the siding was empty. The fireman leapt down and unfastened the coupling between 32109 and the trucks before running back to the cab. "It's all up to you now, 32109, he said, and pulled the lever. Slowly but surely, 32109 began to gingerly shunt the last vans onto the quay. By now, the first truck was completely engulfed in flames. If they didn't get them to the end of the quay quick enough, 32109 didn't think twice. A violent hissing was coming from the burning truck. He gave the vans a fierce bump and jerked his driver off the footplate, following the trucks into the siding. "Come back!" yelled his driver. "Never mind me," 32109 yelled back. "Run!" He rolled forwards, unable to stop. He bumped into the trucks and pushed them as hard as he could into the buffers. But the buffers wouldn't move. 32109 pushed with all his might. The buffers groaned and creaked, and so did the trucks. At last, the trucks began to move. They broke through the weakened buffers and crunched the stone quay. It was hard work, but 32109 managed it. Just as the burning truck came to the quayside, there was a violent boom and a flash of orange fire, but the van kept moving, and at last slithered into the sea. With a final bang and a great hissing and bubbling, the trucks and 32109 disappeared beneath a cloud of thick, black smoke and fire. It was daylight when they brought floating cranes to rescue 32109. Fortunately for him, the force of the explosion had derailed him before he'd fallen off the edge of the quay. He had come to rest with his wheels between the sleepers and had stuck fast. He was dirty, singed, dented and tired, but unhurt. When the remains of the trucks had been lifted out of the water, another engine took them away, while the workmen rescued what powder they could. 32109 opened a sleepy eye to a crowd of people the next morning as Cedric pulled him back to the sheds. Workmen waved and cheered, and a man with a camera took his photograph. 32109 went as red as a signal and beamed from buffer to buffer. "It wasn't anything really," he said modestly. "An engine has to protect his friends, you know." More cheers and admiring whistles from the other engines greeted this. At last, the dockyard manager climbed up onto 32109's footplate and held up his hand for silence. He then turned to the tank engine. 32109, he smiled broadly, you were a very brave engine. I've heard all about it and I'm very pleased with you. Thank you, sir, 32109 beamed. The manager then turned to the crowd of people. Last night, he said, this engine and his crew prevented a near catastrophic accident at their own risk. Many people and engines would have been seriously hurt and the entire harbour in ruins if it weren't for their bravery. Ladies and gentlemen, this engine truly embodies the heart of a lion. Another chorus of cheers rang up from the crowd. The manager held up his hand again. Then he turned back to the engine. Cedric tells me you have wanted a crest of your own for many months now, he said. He also told me that you believed that an engine should have to earn the right to this special mark, and you, 32109, have certainly done that. Sir, gasped 32109, do you mean? I am sending you to Eastleigh Works, a fine place for all engines. The manager smiled. Once you are properly cleaned and mended, you shall have a new coat of paint and a crest of your very own. Oh, sir! Cried 32109. Not only that, the manager said, but in recognition of your outstanding courage, I believe that a new name is in order. From this day forward, 32109, you are Leo. Leo for the British Railways Lion. The manager had to hold his ears with the sheer amount of cheering that followed, drowned by the chorus of proud whistles from the engines nearby. You see, 32109, I mean Leo, whispered Cedric. I told you you'd get your crest. One way or another. Thanks, said. Leo smiled. He closed his eyes and yawned. I can't say I don't enjoy the attention, but how could an engine sleep with all this noise? The manager was as good as his word. Leo was sent to the works the very same day. By the time he'd come out of the workshops, he had a rich, dark coat of black paint, gleaming new buffers, and his very own crest, Leo the Lion standing proud on each side of his tanks. Other engines who had heard all about it would whistle cheerfully to him and would call him Leo the Little Lionheart. Needless to say, Leo was a very happy engine. A few days later, he was given a new home, working in the yards of Southampton docks. He puffed happily backwards and forwards all day, showing off his crest with pride. It's nicer than just having a number, he used to say. Having a crest and a name makes you feel like you truly belong. Leo continued to work in the yards for many years afterwards, shunting trucks and coaches for the other engines, and occasionally taking short goods trains. He didn't mind a bit. After all, it was the work he was made for, and he wouldn't want to do anything else. But many years later, times changed. The other railway had changed its crest, and had begun to introduce diesel engines to retire the old engines to the sidings. After a few years, Leo became the last member of his class in service, until he, like his brothers before him, was eventually withdrawn. He was sent to Eastleigh Works, the same place that was repainted, repaired, and renamed him all those years ago, for the last time. But even though he knew he was going to be sent for scrap, Leo remained dignified and brave to the end. He was that sort of an engine. And that is the story of Leo, Thomas finished. The Oakham Road engines were awestruck. Wow, gasped Tom. Amazing, breathed Ross. Such a shame, Chelsea sighed. I would have loved to have met him. Tell us more, Thomas, came a voice from nearby. The four engines looked up. A small crowd of people had gathered around to listen to the story. Edward was standing nearby too, waiting with his stone trucks. Thomas smiled. I'm afraid there's no more to tell, he said. Every story must end. He puffed back to the junction, looking thoughtful. But what Thomas didn't know is that sometimes the end of one story is just the beginning of another. but I'm afraid that for you and I, that story will have to wait for another